Hello, this is Mr. Atha, and I'm going to introduce our new topic, which is transporting plants, and teach you about the first section of this topic. So we're going to look at how plants transport water and glucose or sugar around the plant, and we're going to look at how plants actually lose water. Now, you'll already be familiar that plants have to be watered. The plants in your house need to be watered by you, and you should hopefully know that the water goes into the ground, so the roots of the plant absorb that water. As you can see in the diagram, the water must be transported around the plant and specifically up to the leaves. And you can see there the water's evaporating out of the leaves of that tree, which is why sometimes you'll see those photos in IKEA places of a forest and you have a kind of mist coming off the trees. That's the water evaporating out of the leaves. So, in this video, we're going to look at defining the term transpiration. So that's not a typo, it's different from transportation. So transpiration is a biological term. I want you to be able to describe the movement of water through plants. Kind of what I just did there, talking about the roots, talking about the stem, and talking about the leaves. Then I'm going to give you the name of the vessel which transports water around the plant, and you should be able to describe the features of that vessel. Okay, so transpiration. Transpiration is what's being shown here in this diagram with the zoomed in areas. The overall definition is the process of water moving through a plant from its roots to its leaves, and then the evaporation of that water out of the leaves through stomata. Stomata are the names of the small pores in leaves that allows the water to evaporate. And in the three small pictures on the right, the top one is a close-up of a leaf, and you can see the darker green. There's two special cells there which create a small hole or a small pore. That pore is a stomata. So stomata is not actually a thing to be labelled in a diagram, it's the gap itself, it's the pore the water evaporates out of. And we can see that here. Water's entering these plant cells and then it's evaporating into that gap and exiting the plant. So that gap is called the stomata. So transpiration is the movement of water from the roots up to the leaves of a plant and the evaporation of the water out of the plant. You must have that part about evaporation in your answer when describing transpiration. Okay, so I can break transpiration down to three kind of sentences, and this is what you have to memorise. Start off by talking about the root hairs. The roots themselves have these little hairs. So this first small picture in the bottom shows if you look closely into the root, they've got these little hairs coming out of it. The hairs, if you're asked to explain them, increase surface area. That means there's more surface underground to absorb water. The movement of that water from the soil into the plant is called osmosis. That's a term you'll learn about when you do National 5 Biology next year, okay? So it's in this video just for when you're looking back in the future. So part 1, you talk about water enters the plants through the root hairs. Part 2, water only travels up the stem, okay? It only moves in one direction, so it's going from the roots to the leaves. It moves in the second box that has the grey picture through these tubes called xylem. Okay, so you have to learn the spelling of that one, X-Y-L-E-M. These are dead hollow tubes that transport water upwards. Part 3, to finish your description of transpiration, you have to say that the water evaporates out of the leaves and ideally name the pores that it's exiting out of, which are the stomata. Okay, let's look at the xylem in more detail. So a couple of key facts in that first paragraph. First of all, it transports water and some minerals dissolved in the water. The xylem themselves are dead, okay? I always remember like cartoons when they die have X's in their eyes. So the name that starts with X is the dead tube in the plant. So xylem are dead hollow tubes. They have these special rings inside them, which you can see in the picture in yellow, called lignin. Now, if you can imagine water being transported through this, changes in water pressure might cause the tube to burst if there's too much water and too much pressure. The lignin strengthens it. So the rings of lignin prevent the xylem from bursting or allows them to withstand changes in pressure, water pressure. Okay, finally remember water only moves in an upwards direction through the xylem. It doesn't move both ways. Okay, so you can see the water there moving upwards only. So you can pause this and take down those key facts, trying to underline the key things you need to know. They're dead hollow tubes, they have rings of lignin to withstand changes in water pressure, and the water only moves upwards. Okay, in science we can look at the rate of something. The rate is how quickly it happens. So if transpiration is the loss of water through the leaves in the plants, we can see how fast this water loss happens. And if we can measure how fast it happens, we can look at different factors which might affect the rate of transpiration. Now, as I increase the temperature here, you can see the rate is increasing. Now that makes sense, because as you increase temperature, it's more likely water is going to evaporate. Like puddles evaporate quicker when it's hotter. 20 degrees. As I'm increasing temperature, the rate of respiration increases. So make the link between those two. There's a clear relationship. As temperature increases, the rate of respiration increases. Pause the video, rewind it, and write down that last sentence I just said. Second factor is wind speed. It does the same thing, so it's going to be the same sentence. As the wind speed increases, the rate of transpiration increases. So again, pause the video, rewind if you need to, and write that sentence down. Again, this makes sense. The faster the wind's blowing, the more the water that's evaporating can get carried away from the leaf. Okay, there's a third factor that we must remember, and this is humidity. Humidity is how much water there already is in the air. This is the one that's the opposite. The rate of respiration here is already high when it's low humidity. So as I increase the humidity, the rate of transpiration actually decreases. So the more water there already is in the air, the slower more water evaporates out into the air. Okay? So our third factor is, as the humidity increases, the rate of transpiration decreases. So three factors, two are the same, but remember humidity is the opposite. So as a plenary, can we do this now? So pause the video, try and answer these three success criteria. So can you write down the definition of transpiration? Can you go ahead and describe the water movement through a plant, the movement of water? There's three parts to that. Can you name the vessels which the water travels through? And as a bonus, can you go ahead and name the three factors which affect the rate of transpiration and describe how they affect it. So pause now and then I'll give you the answers. Okay, so the answers. Transpiration is defined as the process of water moving through a plant and evaporating out of the leaves. To describe the movement of water, there's three parts. One, water enters the plant through the root hairs. Two, water travels up through the stem of the plant in vessels called xylem. 3. Water evaporates out of the leaves of the plants through pores called stomata. Okay, third one, can you name and describe the vessels through which water travels? The name is xylem, X-Y-L-E-M. You describe these as being dead hollow tubes which have rings of lignin, L-I-G-N-I-N, which are there to withstand changes in water pressure. Okay, last one. Three factors are humidity, wind speed and temperature. To describe the effect of each, you can say as both temperature and wind speed increase, the rate of respiration increases. However, as humidity increases, the rate of respiration decreases.